My chosen one, something is happening to you right now that cannot be explained by logic alone. You may have tried to ignore it, to push it aside, to convince yourself that it's just stress, just another passing emotion, but deep down, you know this feeling is different. This heaviness in your chest, this quiet pressure sitting on your heart, it did not come from nowhere. It is not random, and it is not ordinary. Archangel Michael is stepping forward with an urgent message for you. Your heart hath been under spiritual pressure. This is not just emotional weight. This is not just life being difficult. What you are experiencing is a spiritual compression, a moment where unseen forces are pressing against your inner being, testing your strength, your faith, and your purpose. And the reason it feels so intense is because it is real. There are moments in life when the spiritual world draws closer than ever before, when the veil between what is seen and unseen becomes thin. This is one of those moments. Right now, there are shifts happening around you, movements you cannot see, but you can feel. And your heart, your sensitive, chosen heart, is where it is all being registered. Have you noticed it? The sudden waves of emotion that come without warning. The feeling of being overwhelmed even when nothing around you has changed. The quiet exhaustion, as if your soul has been fighting a battle that your mind cannot fully understand. You may even feel pulled in different directions, unsure of what to trust, unsure of why your peace feels disrupted. This is the pressure Archangel Michael is warning you about. And here is the shocking truth. This pressure is not here to destroy you. It is here because something within you is being activated. Something ancient. Something powerful. Something that the spiritual realm recognizes even if you have not fully recognized it yet. But with activation comes resistance. You must understand this clearly. Whenever something valuable begins to rise within a soul, pressure follows. Not to end it, but to test if it is ready. Your heart is not being attacked randomly. It is being pressed because it carries something significant. Something that cannot remain hidden any longer. And that is why this feels so personal. Because it is. This is not a message for everyone. This is for the one who has been quietly clam this weight, wondering why it feels like too much lately. The one who smiles on the outside but feels a storm inside. The one who senses that something is changing but cannot yet see what it is becoming. Archangel Michael is not coming with fear. He is coming with clarity. He wants you to know that what you are feeling is a signal, not a sentence. A sign, not an ending. You are in the middle of something significant. Something that will soon reveal why this pressure had to come. But before that revelation arrives, you must first understand what is truly happening around your heart. Because once you see it clearly, everything will begin to change. Tell me, are you ready to understand the hidden battle that has been surrounding you? There is a dimension to your life that you cannot see with your physical eyes. Yet it influences you more deeply than anything visible ever could. What you are feeling right now is not just internal. It is connected to a hidden battle unfolding around your heart. And this battle is far more strategic, far more intentional than you may realize. Your heart is not just an organ that feels emotion. It is a spiritual gateway. It is the center where your intuition, your discernment, your peace, and your connection to the divine all meet. This is why, when spiritual pressure begins, it does not start in your surroundings. It starts within you. It presses against your heart first, because that is where your strength truly lies. Archangel Michael reveals that there are moments when unseen forces attempt to influence this gateway. Not always in loud, dramatic ways, but in subtle, almost unnoticeable shifts. A small seed of doubt planted where confidence once stood. A quiet wave of fear where peace used to rest. a sudden heaviness that makes even simple decisions feel overwhelming. These are not accidents. These are calculated disruptions. You may have noticed how your thoughts have been changing lately, how certain worries seem to repeat themselves, looping in your mind without resolution, how emotions rise suddenly, without a clear reason, and linger longer than they should. This is how spiritual pressure builds. It does not crash into your life all at once. It accumulates, layer by layer, until your heart begins to feel the weight of something it cannot fully explain. And here is what makes this battle so challenging. It often disguises itself as normal life. You might tell yourself, "I'm just tired," or "this is just stress," or "everyone feels like this sometimes." And while those things can be true, they do not fully explain the depth of what you are experiencing. Because this kind of pressure reaches deeper than surface-level emotions. It touches your sense of identity. It makes you question things you once felt certain about. It creates a fog where clarity used to exist. This is not meant to confuse you. It is meant to distract you. Because when your heart is clouded, your direction becomes uncertain. And when your direction is uncertain, your power becomes weakened. That is the goal of this hidden battle, not to destroy you instantly, but to slowly disconnect you from your inner clarity, your confidence, and your divine alignment. But here is the truth that changes everything. This battle would not be happening if your heart was not important. Ordinary hearts are not targeted like this. Hearts that carry no deeper purpose are left undisturbed. But yours is different. There is something within you that responds to truth, that seeks light, that refuses to settle for illusion, and that makes you a presence in the spiritual realm, whether you realize it or not. Archangel Michael wants you to see this clearly. What you are facing is not a sign of weakness. It is evidence of significance. The pressure you feel is directly connected to the strength you carry. But in order to move forward, you must begin to recognize the signs. You must become aware of what is happening instead of dismissing it. Because awareness is the first step in breaking the cycle. When you can see the pattern, you can interrupt it. When you understand the source, you can resist it. So pay attention to yourself in this moment. Notice the areas where your peace has been disturbed. Notice the thoughts that do not feel like your own. Notice the emotional weight that seems heavier than your circumstances should justify. These are not random experiences. They are signals. Signals that your heart is in the middle of something deeper than you were ever meant to ignore. And now that you are beginning to see it, the question is no longer, "Why is this happening to me?" The question becomes, "Why were you chosen to feel it so strongly?" There is a reason this pressure found you, and it is not by accident. Out of countless souls moving through their daily lives, only a few are chosen to feel things at this depth, at this intensity, at this level of spiritual awareness. And whether you fully understand it yet or not, you are one of them. You were not selected because you are weak. You were not chosen because you are easy to break. You were chosen because your heart has the rare ability to sense, to carry, and to transform what others cannot even perceive. This is what Archangel Michael is revealing to you now. This pressure is not a punishment. It is a form of recognition. There is something unique about your spirit. You feel deeply. You notice what others overlook, and you carry an inner knowing that refuses to settle for surface-level truth. Even when you try to ignore it, it pulls you back. Even when you try to silence it, it whispers louder. That sensitivity is not your burden, it is your assignment. But with that assignment comes weight. Because when a soul is capable of holding greater light, it must also face greater resistance. This is a spiritual law that cannot be avoided. The higher the calling, the stronger the pressure that surrounds it. And right now, your heart is being pressed not to harm you but to prepare you. Think about it carefully. Why have you been feeling things others around you don't seem to notice? Why does your heart react so strongly, even when everything looks normal on the outside? Why do you carry emotions that feel bigger than the moment itself? It is because you are not just experiencing your environment. You are discerning it. You are picking up on spiritual shifts, on unseen tensions, on movements that exist beyond the physical. And while others may walk through life unaware, you feel it all. That is why this pressure feels so personal. It is not just happening around you. It is happening through you. Archangel Michael wants you to understand something that will change the way you see this forever. Not everyone is trusted with this level of awareness. Many are protected from it, shielded from it, kept at a distance from the deeper layers of reality. But you have been allowed to feel it, to sense it, to carry it, because your soul has already been marked as capable. Even if you doubt yourself, heaven does not. Even if you feel overwhelmed, you have not been misjudged. This pressure is not proof that you are failing. It is proof that you are being entrusted with something greater than comfort. Because comfort does not transform a soul. Pressure does. Pressure reveals what is hidden. Pressure strengthens what is weak. Pressure brings to the surface everything that must be seen before it can be elevated. And right now, your heart is in that exact process. That is why it feels so intense. You are not breaking. You are being refined. And refinement is never easy. There are moments when you may wish this sensitivity would disappear. Moments when you wonder why you cannot just feel normal again. Moments when you question why your heart carries so much while others seem untouched. But what you must realize is this. What feels heavy now is shaping something within you that will soon become your greatest strength. This is how transformation begins. Not with clarity, but with pressure. Not with peace, but with disruption. Not with answers, but with questions that force you to look deeper than ever before. And you are already in the middle of it. You did not arrive here by chance. You were guided into this moment because your spirit is ready to move into something higher, something clearer, something more aligned with your true purpose. But before that can happen, everything within you must be tested, strengthened, and awakened. This is the stage you are in now. So do not misunderstand what you are feeling. Do not label it as weakness or confusion. This is a sacred process. Even if it does not feel like it yet. This is the moment where your heart is being prepared to carry what is coming next. And what is coming next will require a version of you that is stronger, clearer, and more spiritually aware than ever before. And now listen closely. If this message is reaching your spirit, if something inside you is quietly saying this is true, then you are already responding to the call. Type "I am chosen for this pressure" in the comments if you feel this message resonating within you. Blessing code 9137 is now being activated over your life. And as this truth settles into your heart, hear this invitation as part of the same divine flow. There are still countless hearts under this same unseen pressure, searching for understanding, waiting for light to reach them. When you step forward in this moment, you are not just responding for yourself. You are helping release clarity into the lives of others who are silently struggling. I feel the call to sow into this message so that it multiplies and reaches the ones who need it most. This is your moment to become part of that spiritual harvest. As the living word declares, the one who sows generously will also reap generously, and that promise is speaking directly over you right now. Every seed you release carries light, carries truth, carries breakthrough into places you may never see, but heaven records it. The pathway has already been prepared for you. The PayPal link is waiting in the description. and even the QR code had been placed before you as a sign that this moment was anticipated. This is not a casual action. It is a prophetic response. What you release now becomes a river that flows into other souls, breaking confusion and restoring peace. And as you give, receive this. Your obedience will return to you multiplied, your seed will not be forgotten, and your heart will be strengthened in ways you cannot yet imagine. Step into this moment without hesitation. Sow, and let heaven move. There are moments when the greatest battles in your life make no sound at all. No warning, no clear sign, no visible opponent, just a slow shift in your thoughts, your emotions, and your inner peace. And before you even realize it, something within you feels different, heavier, and settled. This is how the silent attacks begin. Archangel Michael is revealing something crucial to you now. These attacks were never meant to be obvious. If they were loud and clear, you would resist them immediately. You would recognize them, stand firm, and push them away. But instead, they arrive quietly, blending into your daily life so seamlessly that you mistake them for your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own struggles. Have you noticed how doubt hath been speaking more frequently in your mind? Not aggressively but subtly. A quiet whisper that questions your worth, your direction, your decisions. It doesn't shove, it suggests. It plants a thought and then steps back, allowing it to grow on its own. And over time, that single thought begins to shape how you see yourself. This is not sluchaikakian or estayuri. This is strategy. Because once doubt takes root, it begins to weaken your confidence. And when your confidence weakens, your ability to move forward becomes slower, more uncertain. You hesitate where you once acted boldly. You question where you once trusted. And all of this happens so gradually that you barely notice the shift. Then comes fear. Not always intense but persistent. A quiet uneasiness about the future. A sense that something might go wrong, even when there is no clear reason to believe it will. This kind of fear does not paralyze you instantly. It lingers in the background, influencing your choices, limiting your steps, keeping you within a space that feels safe but is actually restrictive. And alongside doubt and fear there is emotional exhaustion. This is one of the most overlooked forms of spiritual pressure. You wake up feeling tired, even after resting. Your energy feels drained, even when you have done nothing physically demanding. Your heart feels heavy, not because of one specific event, but because of an accumulation of unseen weight. You may have asked yourself, why do I feel like this when nothing is really wrong? And that question itself is part of the confusion these silent attacks create. Because they disconnect the feeling from the source. They make you believe that your emotions are random, that your heaviness has no deeper cause, that your inner state is simply something you must accept. But Archangel Michael is stepping in to break that illusion. He is showing you that these experiences are not disconnected. They are part of a pattern. A pattern designed to slowly pull you away from your center, to cloud your clarity, to weaken your awareness, and most importantly, to make you forget who you truly are. Because when you forget your strength, you stop using it. When you forget your purpose, you stop pursuing it. When you forget your connection to the divine, you begin to feel alone, even when you are not. That is the true erdica of these silent attacks. Not disruption, but disconnection. But here is the turning point, the moment where everything begins to shift. Now that you can see it, now that you can recognize these patterns, they begin to lose their power. Awareness breaks illusion. The moment you realize that a thought is not truly yours, you gain the ability to reject it. The moment you see that a feeling has been influenced, you can choose not to be controlled by it. This is why this message is reaching you now, because you are no longer meant to remain unaware. Archangel Michael is not only protecting you, he is awakening you. He is helping you see what was once hidden, understand what once felt confusing, and recognize what once felt overwhelming. And as this awareness grows within you, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to take your power back. Slowly, but surely, you begin to separate true from illusion. You begin to question the thoughts that once controlled you. You begin to resist the emotions that once consumed you. And in doing so, you create space for clarity to return, for peace to rebuild, for strength to rise again. This is not the end of the battle, but it is the end of your blindness to it. And that changes everything. Because once you can see the attack, you are no longer defenseless against it. Now, something greater is about to be revealed to you. Something that will shift your focus from what is happening to you to what is already protecting you. Even in the middle of everything you've been feeling, the pressure, the confusion, the emotional weight, there is something you must understand right now, and it will shift the way you see your entire situation. You are not facing this alone. You never have been. While the pressure has been building, while the silent attacks have been trying to cloud your heart, there has been a presence standing beside you, watching, guarding, and intervening in ways you did not even notice. Archangel Michael has not been distant. He has been active. The reason you are still standing, the reason you have not completely lost yourself in the heaviness, the reason you are even able to hear this message right now is because protection has already been placed over your life. Think about it carefully. There were moments when the pressure could have completely overwhelmed you. Moments when your thoughts could have spiraled beyond control. Moments when the emotional weight could have pulled you into a place much darker than where you are now. But something held you back from that edge. Something interrupted the fall. Something kept you anchored, even when you felt like you were drifting. That something is not Hesel Huchayakakien or Este Yuri. That is protection. Archangel Michael works in ways that are often unseen, but deeply effective. He does not always remove the challenge, but he limits its reach. He does not always silence the noise, but he strengthens your ability to endure it. He does not always stop the pressure, but he ensures it never crushes you. This is why, even in your hardest moments, there has always been a small part of you that refuses to give up. A quiet strength that remains, even when everything else feels unstable. A subtle voice that tells you to keep going, even when you don't fully understand why. That is not just your own willpower. That is divine reinforcement. And the signs of this protection have been around you more than you realize. It may have come through sudden moments of clarity that appeared out of nowhere, breaking through confusion just long enough to guide you forward. It may have shown up as unexpected peace in the middle of emotional chaos, a brief but powerful reminder that not everything is lost. It may have even appeared through people, words, or situations that arrived at exactly the right moment, just when you needed them most. These are not coincidences. They are interventions. Subtle, precise, and perfectly timed. Archangel Michael's role is not just to fight battles you cannot see, but to ensure that you are never left unprotected within them. And even now, as your heart is under pressure, that protection has not weakened. If anything, it has intensified, because the closer you move toward your breakthrough, the stronger the covering becomes. You must understand this clearly. If the pressure has increased, it is not because you are losing. It is because you are advancing. And whenever there is advancement, there is always both resistance and reinforcement. The resistance you have felt and the reinforcement you have overlooked. But now, your awareness is shifting. Now, you are beginning to see both sides. You are beginning to recognize that for every moment of doubt, there was also a moment of strength. For every wave of fear, there was also a quiet sense of protection. For every feeling of heaviness, there was also an unseen force preventing it from becoming too much. This balance is not slujikeki and yurikeki. It is intentional, because you are being sustained through this process, not abandoned within it. And this realization changes everything. Because once you truly understand that you are protected, your perspective begins to shift. Fear starts to lose its grip. Doubt begins to weaken. The pressure may still be there, but it no longer feels like it has complete control over you. Instead, it becomes something you are moving through, not something that is consuming you. This is the moment where your strength begins to return. Not all at once, but gradually. You begin to trust again. You begin to breathe a little. You begin to feel that maybe, just maybe, this is not here to end you, but to carry you somewhere higher. And you would be right. Because what is happening right now is not just about pressure or protection. It is about transformation. You are being held steady in the middle of a process that is preparing you for something greater than where you are now. And Archangel Michael is ensuring that no matter how intense it feels, you will make it through. So the next time you feel that weight on your heart, do not see it as something you must face alone. Remember what is standing with you. Remember what has already been shielding you. Remember that there is a force greater than anything pressing against you, and it is on your side. And as this truth settles deeper into your spirit, you are about to understand something even more powerful. Why this pressure had to reach its peak before anything could finally begin to change. There comes a moment in every spiritual journey where the pressure does not just linger, it intensifies. It reaches a level where it feels almost unbearable, where your heart begins to ask questions your mind cannot answer. This is the moment many people misunderstand, the moment they think something has gone wrong. But Archangel Michael is revealing a deeper truth to you now. This is not the moment of defeat. This is the moment just before the breakthrough. You see, pressure does not increase without purpose, and builds layer by layer for a reason. And when it reaches its peak, it is not trying to destroy you, it is trying to transform you. What feels like a breaking point is often the exact place where something within you is about to shift permanently. Think about how pressure works in the physical world. When something is refined, it is placed under intense heat, intense force, until its impurities rise to the surface. It is not comfortable. It is not gentle. But it is necessary. Because without that pressure, the true form can never emerge. The same is happening within you. This emotional weight, this spiritual tension, this feeling of being stretched beyond what you thought you could handle, it is not slujikeki and yurikeki. It is the refining process. It is bringing everything hidden within your heart to the surface. Old fears, buried doubts, unresolved emotions, things you may not have even realized were still there. And as they rise, it feels overwhelming. Because you are not just dealing with the present moment. You are confronting layers of your past, your beliefs, your inner patterns, all at once. This is why the pressure feels so heavy. It is not just about now. It is about everything that has been waiting to be released. And here is where most people step back. When the pressure reaches this level, many begin to retreat. They shut down, they disconnect, they try to escape the feeling rather than move through it. And while that reaction is understandable, it also delays what is trying to happen. Because breakthrough does not come before the peak, it comes after it. Archangel Michael wants you to hold on to this truth. You are closer than you think. even though it feels intense, even though it feels like too much at times. This is the stage where transformation is actively taking place. This is where your old self begins to lose its hold, and your new self starts to take shape. But the transition is not smooth. It feels like tension. It feels like uncertainty. It feels like standing between two versions of yourself. One that is familiar but limited, and one that is unknown but powerful. And that space is uncomfortable, because you cannot fully return to who you were, but you have not yet fully become who you are meant to be. This is the breaking point. Not where you fall apart, but where you are being reshaped. And here is something even more important. This process is not happening to everyone. Not everyone reaches this stage. Many remain within their comfort zones, never experiencing this level of pressure, but also never experiencing this level of transformation. You, however, have been brought here for a reason, because your life is not meant to remain the same. There is something ahead of you that requires a stronger heart, a clear mind, a deeper level of awareness. And that version of you cannot exist without this moment. It cannot exist without this pressure pushing you beyond your current limits. So when you feel like you are at your edge, when it seems like you cannot carry any more, that is not the signal to stop. That is the signal that something is about to change. Because pressure cannot build forever. At some point, it must release. And when it does, everything that has been forming within you begins to emerge. Clarity replaces confusion. Strength replaces weakness. Peace begins to settle where chaos once lived. But first you must pass through this point. You must allow the process to complete. Archangel Michael is not asking you to understand every detail. He is asking you to trust what is happening, even when it feels uncomfortable. To stand firm, even when your emotions are shifting. To remain open, even when your mind is searching for answers. Because this is not the end of your struggle. This is the turning point within it. And what comes after this will begin to show you why none of this pressure was ever wasted. There is something ahead of you that your current version cannot fully hold yet, and that is why your heart has been under this kind of pressure. It is not random, and it is not without direction. Every moment of heaviness, every wave of emotion, every silent battle you have faced has been shaping you for something specific, something greater than where you are now. Archangel Michael is revealing this truth to you now because you are reaching a point where you must begin to shift your focus. Until now, you have been asking, why is this happening to me? But the deeper question, the one that unlocks everything, is this: what is this preparing me for? Because pressure always has a purpose, and in your case, that purpose is elevation. There is a version of your life that exists beyond this moment, a version where your clarity is stronger, your peace is deeper, and your sense of direction is no longer clouded. A version where you no longer question your worth or your path, but move forward with quiet confidence and inner stability. That version of you is not imaginary. It is real, and it is already forming. But to step into it, your heart must be ready. You see, what you are being prepared for is not just external change. It is not just a new situation, a new opportunity, or a new environment. It is an internal expansion, a shift in how you perceive yourself, how you respond to challenges, and how you align with the deeper truth within you. Because without that internal readiness, even the greatest opportunities can be missed or mishandled. This is why the preparation happens first. This is why your heart has been stretched, refined, and strengthened. Because what is coming next will require you to stand differently, to think differently, to feel differently than you did before. It will require a level of stability that cannot be shaken by temporary emotions, a level of clarity that is not easily influenced by external noise. And that is exactly what this process hath been building within you. Even if you cannot see it fully yet, it is already happening. Have you noticed how certain things no longer affect you the way they used to? How situations that once overwhelmed you now feel more manageable? How your awareness has grown, allowing you to pause, to reflect, to respond rather than react. These are not small changes. These are signs of preparation. Your heart is learning to hold more without breaking. Your mind is learning to process more without becoming lost. Your spirit is learning to remain grounded even when everything around you feels uncertain. This is growth. And growth is never comfortable, because it requires you to release old patterns, old reactions, old ways of thinking that no longer serve the version of you that is emerging. It requires you to let go of what feels familiar, even if it was limiting. It requires you to step into a space that feels new, even if it feels uncertain at first. But this is where your strength is leading you. Archangel Michael is guiding you toward a higher alignment, a state where your actions, your thoughts, and your inner truth begin to move in harmony. A place where you are no longer divided within yourself, but centered, focused, and steady. And once you reach that alignment, everything begins to shift. Decisions become clearer. Your path becomes more defined. The confusion that once surrounded you begins to dissolve. Because you are no longer seeing through the lens of pressure, you are seeing through the lens of understanding. This is what your heart is being prepared for. Not just relief from pressure, but transformation through it. And here is something you must hold on to. What is coming will match the strength you are building now. Nothing less. Nothing more. That means the peace you will feel will be as deep as the pressure you have endured. The clarity you will gain will be as powerful as the confusion you have moved through. The stability you will stand in will reflect every moment you chose not to give up, even when it felt difficult. This is not a SLUCHAIKAKI process. This is precise, intentional, guided, and you are exactly where you need to be within it. So instead of resisting what you feel, begin to trust what it is creating within you. Begin to recognize that every moment of pressure is contributing to a stronger, clearer, more aligned version of yourself. Because very soon you are going to step into a moment where everything begins to shift. A moment where the weight starts to lift, where the fog begins to clear, where the answers you have been searching for start to reveal themselves. And when that moment arrives, you will realize that your heart was never under pressure without purpose. It was being prepared for something greater than you ever imagined. There comes a moment, quiet, almost unannounced, when everything that once felt heavy begins to loosen its grip. It does not always arrive with noise or dramatic change. In fact, it often comes gently, like a subtle breath returning after a long period of holding it in. This is the moment where the shift begins. After all the pressure, after all the unseen battles, after all the emotional weight your heart has carried, something begins to change within you. Not around you at first, but within you. And that is where true transformation always starts. Archangel Michael is revealing that this moment is not SLUCHAIKAKI. It is the result of everything you have endured up until now. Every time you chose to keep going despite the heaviness, every moment you resisted giving in to doubt, every silent prayer, every tear that no one saw, none of it was wasted. It has all been leading to this internal turning point. You may begin to notice it in small ways. A thought that once caused anxiety no longer holds the same power over you. A situation that would have overwhelmed you before now feels manageable. The emotional intensity begins to soften, not because everything is perfect, but because something inside you has become stronger. This is the shift. It is not the absence of challenge. It is the presence of stability. It is the moment where your inner world starts to realign, where the chaos begins to settle, where your heart starts to feel like itself again. Not the old version of yourself, but a new one, refined, strengthened, and more aware than ever before. And as this shift continues, clarity begins to return. The confusion that once clouded your mind starts to fade. The questions that once felt overwhelming begin to find quiet answers. You start to see things differently, not through fear or doubt, but through understanding. Pieces begin to connect. Patterns begin to make sense. What once felt like disorder begins to reveal its purpose. This is where you start to realize that the pressure was not here to confuse you. It was here to awaken you. And now that you are awake to it, it can no longer control you in the same way. Archangel Michael's presence becomes even more noticeable in this stage. Not necessarily in visible form, but in the way you begin to feel guided again. A sense of direction returns. A quiet confidence starts to build. You may not have all the answers yet, but you no longer feel lost. There is a difference. Before, you were searching in confusion, and now, you are moving with awareness. And that changes everything. Because once awareness is restored, your power begins to return fully. You start making decisions with more clarity. You begin to trust your inner voice again. You feel less affected by external noise, less shaken by temporary emotions. It is as if something within you has stabilized, and that stability becomes your foundation moving forward. But here is something important to understand. This shift does not mean everything will suddenly become easy. It means you are now equipped to handle what comes next with a different level of strength. The pressure may have shaped you, but it does not define you anymore. Now, you define how you move forward. And as you continue stepping into this new alignment, you will begin to notice opportunities opening, paths becoming clearer, and decisions becoming easier. Not because life has changed overnight, but because you have. This is the power of the shift. It transforms how you experience everything. And now you are entering a space where you can finally begin to move forward with intention instead of reaction, with clarity instead of confusion, with strength instead of uncertainty. So if you can feel this change within you, even slightly, if something inside you feels lighter, clearer, more steady than before, then recognize this moment for what it is. It is the beginning of your breakthrough. Type "I feel the shift" within me in the comments if you are stepping into this new clarity. Blessing code 5284 is now being activated over your path. And as this shift begins to open new light within you, understand that this moment is not just for you alone. There are others still walking through the pressure you have just come through, still searching for the clarity that is now finding you. When you act in alignment with this moment, you become a vessel through which that same light can reach them. I feel the stirring to release into this flow, to become part of something greater than myself. As it is spoken, cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. This is a living invitation. What you release now will return, carrying increase, carrying purpose, carrying unseen impact. The opportunity is already in your hands. The PayPal link in the description and the QR code placed before you are not there by chance. This is your moment to respond prophetically, to sow into the very message that is lifting hearts and breaking confusion. Those who move in this moment will feel the return, not only in what they receive, but in what is unlocked within them. Peace will deepen. Clarity will expand. Strength will multiply. Do not hesitate. Step into alignment. Release your seed and allow heaven to respond. Now that the shift has begun within you, there is something important you must understand. This is not a moment to return to old patterns. This is a moment to align yourself with the strength that has been forming inside you all along. Because what you do now will determine how firmly you stand in the clarity you have just entered. Archangel Michael is not only guiding you through pressure and into breakthrough, he is also showing you how to remain grounded in it. Because alignment is not automatic, it is intentional. It is something you choose, moment by moment, thought by thought, action by action. Divine strength is not something distant from you. It is already within your reach. But to fully access it, you must begin to move in a way that supports it, rather than resists it. The first step is awareness. You must become conscious of what you are allowing into your mind and your heart. Every thought you entertain, every emotion you hold on to, every belief you reinforce, these things shape your inner state. And now that you have come through the pressure, you can no longer afford to let negative patterns take root without questioning them. When a thought arises that brings doubt, pause. Do not accept it immediately. Ask yourself, is this truth, or is this leftover pressure trying to return? That simple awareness creates separation. It gives you the power to choose what stays and what goes. This is how alignment begins. The second step is stillness. In a world full of noise, stillness becomes your refuge. It is in quiet moments that your clarity strengthens, that your inner voice becomes easier to hear. You do not need to force answers or chase direction. When you become still, what is meant for you begins to rise naturally. Archangel Michael often guides through subtle impressions, quiet nudges, and inner knowing. But if your mind is constantly filled with distraction, you may miss it. That is why stillness is not optional. It is necessary. Even a few moments of intentional quiet can restore your balance. The third step is trust. You have already come through a phase that tested you deeply. You have already felt what it means to stand in uncertainty and continue moving forward. And now, you must begin to trust that what is unfolding in your life is not random. It is guided. Trust does not mean you will have all the answers immediately. It means you are willing to move forward even when you don't. It means you release the need to control every outcome and instead allow things to unfold with faith. This is where divine strength becomes active in your life. Because when you trust, you create space for guidance to lead you. The fourth step is release. There are things you carried during the pressure that you are not meant to carry forward. Old fears, old doubts, old emotional patterns. They may still try to linger, but they no longer belong to who you are becoming. You must consciously let them go. Not by force, but by decision. You choose not to return to the same cycles. You choose not to entertain the same thoughts. You choose not to hold on to what has already been revealed as unnecessary. And with each release, you create more space for strength to grow. This is how alignment deepens. Archangel Michael's presence becomes stronger in your awareness when you are aligned. Not because he was ever absent, but because you are now more open to receiving that guidance. You begin to notice the flow of things more clearly. Doors open with less resistance. Decisions feel more natural. You are no longer pushing against life. You are moving with it. And that is where true strength lies. Not in control, but in alignment. As you continue to walk this path, remember that alignment is not about perfection. There will still be moments of uncertainty, moments where you feel challenged again. But the difference now is that you know how to return to your center. You know how to pause, to reflect, to reconnect. And that is what keeps you steady. Because once you learn how to align yourself with divine strength, you are no longer easily shaken. You may bend, but you will not break. You may feel pressure, but it will not control you. You have moved beyond that stage. And now, you are stepping into a space where your awareness, your choices, and your connection to the divine begin to shape your path in a more powerful way. But there is one more thing you must be aware of, one warning that cannot be ignored. Because even after the shift, even after alignment begins, there is still a choice to be made. And what you choose next will determine everything that follows. There is something you must hear clearly in this moment. Something that cannot be softened or overlooked. Not everything that comes after a breakthrough is automatically secure. Just because you have felt the shift, just because clarity has begun to return, does not mean the journey is complete. In fact, this is where one of the most important choices appears. Archangel Michael is bringing a warning, not to create fear, but to protect what has already been awakened within you. Because once your heart has been opened, once your awareness has expanded, you cannot afford to return to unconscious patterns. What you ignore now can slowly rebuild the very pressure you were just released from. And this is how many people lose their breakthrough, not in one moment, but in small, repeated choices. You must understand this truth. What once worked against you has not disappeared completely. It has only lost its power over you, unless you give that power back. This is where awareness becomes your responsibility. There will be moments ahead where familiar thoughts try to return. Old doubts may resurface, not as strong as before, but recognizable. Situations may arise that test your patience, your clarity, your emotional balance. And in those moments, it may feel easier to fall back into what you once knew. But this is where the warning stands. Do not go back to what you have already outgrown. It may feel familiar, but it is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. And returning to it will not bring comfort. It will bring confusion. Because once your awareness has expanded, you cannot truly settle into old patterns without feeling the conflict within you. That conflict is not eselujayakaki and yurakaki. It is your spirit reminding you that you have moved forward. Archangel Michael is asking you to remain alert, not in fear, but in clarity. To recognize the difference between what supports your growth and what pulls you backward. Because now, more than ever, your choices carry weight. Every thought you accept, every reaction you allow, every decision you make, it all contributes to the direction you are moving in. This is not about being perfect. It is about being intentional. There is a subtle but powerful difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is automatic. It comes from old patterns, old habits, old conditioning. But response is conscious. It comes from awareness, from clarity, from the strength you have built. And right now, you are being called to respond. Not to let situations control you, but to meet them with the stability you have gained. Not to let emotions dictate your direction, but to observe them, understand them, and choose how you move forward. Because this is how you protect your breakthrough. It is not something that is given once and remains forever without effort. It is something that must be maintained through awareness, through alignment, through conscious choice. And this is where many people falter. They experience the shift, they feel the relief, and then they relax their awareness. They stop paying attention. They begin to move on autopilot again. And slowly, without realizing it, they allow the same patterns to rebuild. Archangel Michael does not want this for you. That is why this warning is coming now, while your awareness is still strong, while your clarity is still fresh, so that you can move forward with intention, not assumption. You are not the same person you were before this process began. You have seen too much, felt too much, understood too much to return to unconscious living. And even if you tried, it would not feel right anymore. Because your spirit has already shifted. And with that shift comes responsibility. Not a burden, but a responsibility to honor what you have gained, to protect your peace, to guard your clarity, to stay aligned with the strength that has been built within you. This does not mean you will never face challenges again. It means you will face them differently, with awareness instead of confusion, with steadiness instead of reaction, with trust instead of fear, and that is what keeps you moving forward. So hear this warning not as something heavy, but as something empowering. You are now in a position where your choices truly matter, where your awareness gives you control over your direction, and that is a powerful place to be, because from here you are no longer just reacting to life. You are shaping it. But before everything fully settles, before the complete release arrives, there is one final moment you must pass through, a moment that will test everything you have learned, and how you move through it will determine the strength of what comes next. Just when you begin to feel steady, just when clarity starts to settle, and your heart feels stronger than before, something unexpected may appear. A moment, a situation, a feeling that seems to challenge everything you have just overcome. It may confuse you at first. It may even make you question, why is this happening again? But Archangel Michael is revealing something crucial to you now. This is not a step backward. This is the final test before your full release. Every transformation reaches this point, a moment where everything you have learned, everything you have endured, everything you have become is brought into one final experience. Not to break you, but to confirm you. Not to confuse you, but to reveal how far you have truly come. This test does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it appears in subtle ways. A familiar emotion tries to rise again, but this time it feels different. A situation that once triggered you returns, but now you see it more clearly. A thought that once controlled you appears again, but now you recognize it instantly. This is not slujekaki. This is the moment where you are being given the opportunity to respond differently. Before, you may have reacted without awareness. You may have been pulled into the emotion, lost in the thought, overwhelmed by the situation. But now you have a choice, and that choice is the test. Will you return to the old way, or will you stand in the new strength that has been built within you? This is where everything becomes clear, because transformation is not proven by what you feel when everything is calm. It is revealed by how you respond when something tries to disturb that calm again. And right now, you are being positioned to pass the test. You may feel the tension of it, a slight pull in your emotions, a moment of hesitation in your thoughts, a sense that something is trying to draw you back into a familiar pattern. But alongside that, there is also something new, a pause, an awareness, a quiet strength that was not there before. That is your answer. That is the proof that you have changed. Archangel Michael wants you to trust that awareness, to lean into that pause, to choose your response with intention rather than allowing old patterns to take over. Because the moment you do, the moment you stand firm in this new version of yourself, the test is complete. And with completion comes release. This is how the process concludes. Not with struggle, but with decision. Not with force, but with clarity. You are not being asked to fight harder. You are being asked to stand differently, to recognize that you are no longer the same person who entered this process, to see that what once had power over you no longer does, unless you give it permission. And now you no longer will, because you can see it, you can feel it, you understand it. This is the moment where everything aligns, where your awareness, your strength, and your choice come together, where you step fully into the version of yourself that this entire journey has been preparing you to become. And once you do, something shifts permanently. The pressure that once felt overwhelming no longer has the same presence. The confusion that once clouded your mind no longer holds the same weight. The emotional heaviness that once defined your days begins to lift in a way that feels real, stable, and lasting. Because you have passed through the final test, not by chance but by growth, not by accident but by intention. Archangel Michael has guided you through every stage of this journey, not by removing every challenge, but by strengthening you through them. And now, as you stand at the edge of full release, you can see the truth more clearly than ever before. You were never being put down. You were being lifted up. Every moment of pressure was shaping you. Every challenge was preparing you. Every test was revealing you. And now you are ready. Ready to step into a space where your heart is no longer under pressure, but at peace. Ready to move forward without the weight that once held you back. Ready to live with a clarity and strength that reflects everything you have just overcome. This is not the end of your journey, but it is the end of this chapter. And what comes next will feel different in a way you will immediately recognize. Because for the first time in a long time your heart will finally feel free. Beloved, so feel this moment. After everything you have walked through, after every silent battle, every tear, every question that echoed in the quiet, you have arrived at a place your heart has been longing for. Not by accident, not by chance, but by endurance, by growth, and by divine guidance. The pressure is lifting. Not all at once, not like a sudden storm disappearing, but like a sky slowly clearing after heavy rain. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle lightness returning to your chest. That quiet calm replacing the tension that once lived there. That sense that something has finally shifted, and this time, it feels real. This is the divine release. Archangel Michael is near you in this moment, not as a warrior now, but as a guardian of your peace. The battle that surrounded your heart has done its work. It has revealed, refined, and strengthened you, and now it is stepping back. You are no longer standing in survival. You are standing in restoration. There is a difference. Before, your heart was carrying weight it could not explain. And now, your heart is beginning to breathe again. Before, your thoughts felt scattered and uncertain. Now, there is a quiet clarity forming, one that does not need to rush, does not need to prove, does not need to fight. This is what peace feels like after pressure. It is not loud. It is not overwhelming. It is steady, grounded, and deeply reassuring. You may notice how your perspective has changed. The things that once felt urgent now feel distant. The worries that once consumed you no longer have the same voice. The emotional waves that once pulled you under now pass through you without control. This is not because life has suddenly become perfect. It is because you have changed. Your heart has been strengthened in a way that cannot be undone. Your awareness has expanded beyond what it once was. Your connection to the divine has deepened, even if you did not realize it in every moment. And now you are carrying that strength forward. Archangel Michael wants you to know this clearly. You will not return to the same level of pressure you once felt. You have moved beyond it. What once tested you has now taught you. What once overwhelmed you has now shaped you. And that transformation is permanent. There may still be moments of challenge ahead, but they will not feel the same. Because you will not be the same. You will meet them with a steadiness that comes from experience, from awareness, from knowing that you have already walked through something that once felt impossible. And you made it. Let that truth settle into your spirit. You made it through the pressure. You did not give up. You did not disappear. You did not lose yourself. You found a deeper version of yourself within it. And now you are free to move forward with its strength. So take a moment right now. Breathe deeply. Allow your heart to rest. You do not need to carry what you have already released. You do not need to return to what you have already outgrown. You are in a new space now. A space of peace. A space of clarity. A space where your heart is no longer under pressure but under protection, guidance, and divine alignment. And as you step forward from here, remember this moment. Remember what it feels like to come through the storm and stand in calm again. Because this is your new foundation. Type "My heart is free and at peace" in the comments if you are receiving this release. Blessing code 7721 is now being sealed over your life. And as this peace settles over you, hear this final calling as part of the same divine flow. There are still hearts out there carrying the same pressure you once felt, searching, struggling, waiting for a message like this to reach them. What has brought you into peace can now become a river that flows into others. I step into this moment as a vessel, releasing what I have so that others may receive. As it is spoken, those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. This is not just a promise. It is a living movement, and you are being invited into it right now. When you sow into this message, you are not giving away. You are multiplying light, opening doors, and allowing truth to reach souls that are still in darkness. The pathway is already prepared before you. The PayPal link in the description and the QR code within this video are not placed there randomly. They are your point of action, your moment of obedience, your opportunity to respond prophetically. Those who move now will feel the return. Peace will deepen in your life. Provision will align in unexpected ways. And what you release in faith will come back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Do not wait. Step into alignment. Sow your seed and let heaven respond.